Welcome to the No BS Short-Term Rental Podcast, an unfiltered look into the global vacation and short-term rental industry.
I'm Mateo Bradford.
And I'm John Stokinger.
And this is our podcast. We bring the right people to the table at the right time, giving you an inside view and take on the short-term rental industry like no other podcast can.
Morning, Mateo. How are you?
I'm fantastic, brother, as usual. How are you?
I'm great.
Are you great?
I am really great. We just spent the weekend recording this silly video.
Uh-huh.
My work announcement. By the time you hear this, everyone would have heard of my new job. I'm excited to be the director of sales at Direct.
Congratulations, brother.
That's
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Pretty excited about that. This is our 89th episode. Season 3, episode 29. Insane. So I'm excited. Without further ado, we got a lot of chat about a super fun, exciting guest. She reached out to us, but to be fair, we have been wanting to go ahead and reach out and connect with her. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce.
So this is, I'm stoked. I'm going to get right into this. Because this is a person who needs no introduction, but I have the honor of introducing one of my favorite people in this industry. And, we've been wanting to get her on for a long time. She's an amazing asset to this industry. She's a voice for this industry. She is brilliant mind in this industry and is done and is doing so much for this industry in terms of bringing tech forward and bringing opportunities. We didn't even get in that in the pre-call conversation, talking about everything that we've done, everything that she's done around that space. But without further ado, we have the co-founder of Rentals United and the CEO of Sustonica, the amazing, my friend, my sister, someone we are happy to have on our show, Vanessa De Souza Lage. Welcome. It's about time.
Well, thanks so much. What an introduction. Woof, I'm blushing.
We're excited to have you on.
I met you early. I remember I met you like when I first started in this industry, super young, didn't know anything. And you're just so awesome to me. I just super appreciative for you and of you and glad you're on the show. Glad you're my friend.
Thank you.
And I miss you, man. I gotta say, it's been too long.
Yep.
Way too long.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you in Barcelona. I'm here waiting for you.
Come on, getting out there.
It's interesting too, because when you look at Vanessa's, her LinkedIn profile, it's like founder, co-founder, founder, tech. It's pretty impressive. And Mateo and I came into the space pretty much the same month, 7 years ago now. And you'd been in it before that, doing just some different things, but we had a different path early on. We met at a couple conferences and we built a bond and a friendship, but we didn't really cross paths until, and start working together until a few years ago. So it's always interesting for me because he spent a lot more time overseas early on when he was with Rented and doing, the stuff there. And so he has all these relationships and friendships with, everyone overseas. And I'm like, who the hell? Like I know who you are, but we've never really had a deep conversation before. And he's like, oh yeah, these are my pals. We hung out, we did this birthday party. I'm like, what the fuck? But
you're missing out. You're missing out.
I guess
on Europe.
I did. Not anymore. I'm not gonna anymore. I'm not gonna let it happen.
It's what makes her space so special, dude. Like honestly, just 100%. Like it's why I love this industry for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so chilled, isn't it? Relaxed people.
What was like, holy shit, I'm doing hospitality tech, or like I'm involved. Like, what was that moment and what was that time like for you? Okay. Like, wow, I'm here and this is what I'm doing, and I'm no longer doing this. I'm in VR, I'm in vacation rentals, I'm in tech, and this is the space I'm in.
Well, really, it was opportunity. So I've been an entrepreneur since I'm 25. So I left my big Mercedes-Benz job, that was working 18 hours a day in marketing. Yeah. Traveling, every week to go to Daimler Chrysler in Germany from London. I mean, it was hardcore. And then, I was 25 and I looked at myself in the mirror and there was this huge bags under my eyes. It's like, no, this can't be. This can't be. I need to change something. So bought a car on eBay for $200, put all my life in the back of the car and drove to Rome to, find a new life there. And this is where, because I come from the web agency, I had a web agency before. I mean, I was working for a web agency before. I created a web agency for small to medium-sized businesses in Rome. And one of my clients in Rome was doing Rome apartment rentals for tourists. And I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. And I saw they were doing extremely, extremely well. I thought, well, maybe I could do this, but not just Rome, do Italy, do France, do Spain, and basically go worldwide. And so created the first online booking platform, one of the first. I mean, we were, way before Airbnb, Booking.com, etc. And we were an agency. We had relationships with property managers all over Europe and the US and the Caribbean and South America, and we were selling them and make our commission that way. So this is how I entered the vacation rental space,
right.
And that
this
lasted.
Space Connect?
No, Space Connect was the web agency.
Okay.
That the very first business that I created in Rome.
Okay.
Yeah. Where I was making websites for people, and I had to convince them that a website is good for business. Because back then, people weren't online. Business didn't have websites. So that's that. And then from there, that lasted about 8 years. That agency, Holiday Velvet, and we were online booking, and one of the first to be online booking, etc. And then Airbnb came along.
Right.
Booking.com came along, and so our marketing dollar didn't, forget it, wasn't working anymore. So how do you get from there to survive? How do you survive when the market conditions change so much? And so there came the idea of the distribution platform, the Rentals United, because that would allow us to keep our properties that we had, the 8,000 properties or something, and distribute them onto the big boys that had the big marketing dollar to spend. So onto Airbnb, onto Booking, etc., etc. And still make our commission.
I don't know the history of the channel management back then in the distribution. Can you talk about that? The Wild West that was, because it was your idea to at that time there was Rentals United, was Booking Pal around, was there other, or were you I'm curious about this history. What does that timeline look like?
Yeah, I think Booking Pal started just about the same year as us, or at least to market to property managers the same year as us, because we use Rentals United internally with 4 of our co-founders who were also agencies like Holiday Velvet, and used it to create bookings for us. So it was just for us, really, initially.
Right.
And then we thought, look, this is working so well. Why don't we open our doors to other agencies and other property managers to use it? But this was Wild West in the sense that, distribution platforms didn't really exist for vacation rentals. Yeah, they existed for hotels.
Right.
But they didn't for vacation rentals. So the initial job for me as a marketer was to explain, what is a channel manager and how you can benefit from it, and et cetera, et cetera. So before, people were basically advertising manually. You have 200 rentals. Most of our clients came with their Excel sheets. They were like, "This is my Excel. Help me."
Right. Here's this .csv imported here, and
exactly.
For Europe to be such an old market, right? It's amazing how many people operate their business off of those ledgers, off a spreadsheet, and they got hundreds of properties. It's crazy.
No, and still, but I mean, a lot less than back then. Back then, it was pretty much everyone. But yeah, that's how the Souza Rentals United was born, basically.
All right, so keep going with your timeline. You spent obviously years, quite a few years at RU.
7.
And then 7, and then you have transitioned on to, you did some other things. You did some VR tech events.
Let's talk about VR tech, because that was,
which is really cool. Almost 6 years doing VR tech events, and then to your new venture, which we want to chat about now. But let's talk a little bit about the VR tech events and your secret sauce.
The secret sauce. So VR Tech really, again, Renters United was very small. We had no marketing budget. It was basically me doing marketing. And I thought, how can I create a ecosystem of tech companies that I want to have a relationship with? How can we exchange information? How can we exchange clients? It was all, around the idea of partnerships. How can we partner with other people in the industry? And so I thought, well, VR Tech, instead of, making an event just talking about channel management and Renters United, I'm going to invite other cool, innovative tech companies in this space. And we're going to make an event, and property managers and owners can come and discover us. So it was a great way for ourselves, having no marketing budget, and also for these other young startups to market themselves, to have a stage. Because you don't get into the big conferences. At the time, there were not big conferences, having said that. But it's very hard to get into big conferences. It's also hard to get to you don't have the money to buy a stand, and you spending money on Google AdWords is really expensive, and you're not always good at it. So how do you market when you have a really good idea? So that was the idea of VR Tech, to just like bring all these wonderful startups like ourselves together and promote it. And that I grew that from us being 10 people in the audience to having to refuse people, because I wanted to be the maximum 100 at the time. So there had to be meetups. We had to meet each other. We had to be able to talk to everyone. Everybody had a voice. So it was like 100 people maximum. And the last ones were like the first day of advertising it, they would be booked, done, gone, 100 seats gone, because they were free. We traveled. They were in Barcelona, they were in Rome, they were in Paris and London. Sometimes people would give us their offices. Like we did events at Airbnb's offices. So everybody's curious to go and see, the office, what it looks like. We did events at Booking.com's offices. Again, same thing. So that was fun. That was really, really good fun. And then I did an award with it, the VR Tech Award. That was also really cool, really cool.
And I was there. I remember it was standing room only in those rooms. And I just love that you were giving people the platform to talk about their product, right? Like, and there was such just the climate and exchange of ideas, and just hearing all of the innovative things that people were thinking and seeing and bringing to the space. It was an electric event, but it was it was thought provoking. It was great to be amongst peers around the tech space that are just looking to make our space better and have some amazing ideas.
And more professional, and all of that. Yes.
Speaking of platform, before we get into Sustonica, I'm going to keep saying it.
We're going to make him say it. Oh,
I know. You've been at the forefront of the platform for women and equal opportunity, in having equal opportunity for speaking roles. And then also you've been at the forefront, and you've been very open talking about domestic violence. And we'd love to spend a little bit of time and talking about, that you're in this place where you can speak and have your voice heard, because you are in front of the, you are in marketing, you are in front of the, the camera, in front of the, you talk to us about you, this mission that it first obviously started up with the wearing the tie and doing your thing, and women should be 50-50 and have the equal amount of opportunity to speak at conferences. I think that's how it started, if I look back at it. And obviously events happened and where you've kept going with that, but you've also transitioned to talk about domestic violence. Can you chat a little bit about both of those?
Yeah. So the tie on stage movement, as such, started because I was invited to speak at a conference, and I looked at the agenda and I saw that apart from myself, there was no other woman on stage. So there were solely men on stage. I thought, how can this be? And so I decided at that conference to raise awareness around the fact that this cannot be right. And so, symbols work. I'm a marketer, and so symbols work. And I thought, well, if I wear some kind of symbol that will help me raise awareness. So I thought of a tie because it's like a noose around your neck. And I saw the tie, and I called it hashtag Try on Stage. And at that conference, I said, look, we need to be 50-50. And it was basically raising awareness to conference organizers, because conference organizers, maybe without wanting, just invited people that they knew, etc., and didn't put a focus on it. They didn't look at diversity at all. And so it kind of brought that conversation to literally the stage. And so I'm happy to say that since then, the conferences I've been to, there has been awareness around the subject, and there has been a real effort to have us 50-50. Although I got to admit, still to this day, the conferences I've been to in the last year or so, we were not 50-50. So there's still work to do, and there's still, but it's really towards the conference organizers, because they at the end decide, who goes on stage and who doesn't. And so they need to have this quota, very much present. So it's going on.
But it's on us, because they're going to do what we tell them to do, right? Like at the end of the day,
exactly.
Like it's one of the things I appreciate that you've always done is called it to the stage, but you've called us out too. Like we have to speak up about it. And, John and I have been doing a lot of DEI work in the space, and, understand the fight, but I get it. But it's on us to speak up too. Like we have to be the voice. We're the attendees, we're the vendors, we're
also the committee members. And to be fair, like we'll be pounding this friggin' drum, trying to get attention on these different, committees that we're on in these different organizations. And still, no matter how loud you pound that drum, there's still bureaucracy at the top.
Lagging behind. Yeah. I met the president of the Tourism Association in Portugal. He was invited at a conference, and I met him, and he said, we look at the panel that they invite us to, and if it's only male, we don't go. We refuse. We refuse to speak. Plain. I thought, well, that's putting a bit of activism in the thing. So yeah, there's one way of doing it. So no, if all my other panelists are all blokes, I'm sorry, I won't attend. I won't come. I won't share my expertise.
It's not an accurate representation of the industry either. In the VR space,
or the population.
In general, it's we are equally, if not more, high level, C-level women in these in position of power.
Absolutely.
And in the States, especially in Europe, no, I think that it's lower. There's more men in top positions in property management, at least. But in the States, yes, you have more women in property management than you have men.
Yeah.
Also, I read.
No, it's 100% true. And in these. There shouldn't be
and we're seeing it on the vendor side of the business too, though. Like we're seeing it throughout the industry, not just from property managers and owners and stuff like that. We're actually seeing gender diversity at the top, right? Like, you look at the CEO of Beyond, right? Like you look at Raisha and Lynx and Margot, and we have some amazing women in this industry that are strong mothers, leaders, and brilliant tech minds, right? That have created some amazing products and make our industry better. So it's baby steps, but we are acknowledging that, hey, these things come in chunks and it comes in time, but it can't be off the radar, right? Like it has to be deliberately done. And work out for that time for that change to come.
And the more we talk about it, this is really my opinion. If you do have a voice, talk about it. Say, this doesn't seem right to me, and I'm raising awareness around the topic. This has been my view, at least, and I'm hoping it's a drop in the ocean, but I was able to help somehow.
You have, and it's we've seen it already, and we appreciate it. We've been pounding this DEI drum for a while, and from every angle, and it is everything, and we appreciate everything you've done with that. And speaking of bringing attention, we could talk about we haven't chatted about this. You were invited to the Women's Summit, Amy High Notes. You had a moving presentation. That was relatively pretty soon after an event that happened. and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but can we briefly talk about the event that happened and how it has catapulted you to bring awareness to domestic violence?
Sure. So basically, I was attacked myself by an investor in Renters United, not anybody from top management, from the board member, as such, who was my boyfriend at the time. And he attacked me. I ended up in hospital. He was convicted to 10 months of prison, which he didn't have to serve, but there you go. And I decided that this is a topic that needs to be talked about too. And it seems that, it's a real cancer in society that 1 in 3 women get eventually in their lifetime attacked, domestic abused.
Right.
So what drop in this problem how can I participate? How can I raise awareness? So when Amy invited me to talk about it, I was very pleased, even though it had such nothing to do with the vacation rental industry and was not a professional session as such. It was a platform to raise awareness that this happens to many, very, very many women around us, also in the professional, in your professional, in the professional industry. I mean, professional women, and this was. Many people said to me, this doesn't happen. This happens to other people. This doesn't happen to women who are educated, entrepreneurs, speak 5 languages. This doesn't happen to people like that, to women like that. Well, it does. It does. It can happen to anyone. And so it was a way of saying, in your professional environment, your colleagues, if you notice anything going wrong, maybe it's worth having a conversation and see how you can help. This was the idea, is that, being aware that this is a real problem and it affects very many of us. And so thanks to Amy to let me talk about it. That was a very powerful moment for me.
It's
and I just, it takes an incredible amount of strength to go through that, and also understand that, I mean, you're also assuming, responsibility in educating others and being simple and showing, like,
it shouldn't be a
stereotype for who this happens to.
Exactly.
Right.
It shouldn't be a taboo. It shouldn't be a taboo,
Absolutely
I know.
not.
well, I mean, every one of there's Matteo has strong women in his family. I have
Absolutely.
a teenage daughter, I'm an adult daughter, and a wife in my immediate family. We're talking 1 in 3.
Yes.
These aren't great odds.
And there you go. The odds are great.
This is horrible, and the more attention that is brought to it, and just like the other thing we're talking, the greater understanding and the greater just appreciation of the actual world we live in, not in this fictional, this this is what business look like. This is what it can happen to anybody. And
it can happen to anybody, and
it happens. I think people see it on the news, it's one of those things that it may be happening to people that they know, and they just don't know it's it's wild. You got to throw away your preconceived notions around what you think about relational violence, and
we don't know how many women contacted me afterwards. It is crazy. It's madness. It happened to me. I never had the courage to speak about it. It's been 20 years that I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I've never spoken to it about anyone. How can you do this? What, and it must be so liberating. And yes, it is. It's also a way of, when it happens to you to survive it, because it is a very, very shocking situation, very shocking. And women suffer for years on end when it happens to them. So it's a way of healing as well to speak up, and if anybody is listening that's going through this, well, speak up. There are numbers that you can call for help, and talk to a friend, and stop. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen to
Vanessa, speaking of, can you make sure to give us your recommendation for a number or website?
In the US, totally.
And then we'll go ahead and put a link in the website.
Yeah.
So if anyone would like to go ahead and reach out,
thank you,
get some help.
Thank you very much.
Do that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's continue to so you've transitioned from RU.
Yeah.
And you are, and I'm gonna say it one more time, Sustonica. Did I do better?
Thank you. Sustonica. Wonderful.
Okay. let's talk about that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm gonna hear about this.
this is amazing. And it's been necessary. And we've been talking a lot about it in the event space. And we've been talking about how do we make it greener, more sustainable events.
Stop
Because we're
giving
all
out
Mhm.
fucking water bottles.
Yeah, no. I mean, the event space is one really, really great action that Bob Gardner has been like the voice of sustainability in our industry for quite some time, and he's been the only one, really.
We've had
you
Bob
know?
on the podcast. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing,
Great
and
guy.
he's done this website called Green Our Events, and he helps events to be more sustainable. He gives them tips and to be more environmentally friendly. I mean, so he's great for that. Sustonica and he's also launching another. It's a very important thing about sustainability is that we're lacking good resources. We're lacking education and we're lacking good resources. Where do I start? Is it going to cost me money? Do I really need it? Is it greenwashing? I'll think about it next year.
Right.
That seems to be like the general feeling about when you say the word sustainability. So, the more education and again, the more you can raise awareness around it, the better. And so Bob has been doing a great job of that. And he's now launched Environmental. I don't know if he spoke about that on the podcast where he's launching. And it's a whole website about resources on what you can do to be more environmentally friendly within your vacation rental. And so my side of things is also obviously educating as much as possible and giving away for vacation rental owners and managers to have their home. So I'm certifying the actual home, the vacation rental home. What does it need to have in order to be more environmentally friendly? So, and if you do, there's like 40 guidelines. It doesn't mean you have to put on solar panels, or anything like that. You don't need to, change the construction of your home or anything. No, it's really looking at your amenities and what consumes energy in your vacation rental. How can you lower it? How you consume water? How you deal with waste? Things like this. And so we have 40 guidelines, and it's the Sustonica standards as such. And you have to comply with 12 at the moment. So there's a minimum of 12. Why is there only 12? Because, we want to give an easy path. You don't get scared. It's your first step into your sustainability journey is to go and look at your home and what you can do there. So that's the idea of Sustonica. And I think it's not just because sustainability is like the word of the day. It's a really important topic, and we're all concerned about the future of our planet. But also, it's people, planet, and profit. It's good for business to make your product as such more environmentally friendly because your rental is your product. So that's the idea of Sustonica, that, an easy way to enter and to show the world that you're actually doing something, that it's part of your values as a business, that you truly want to receive guests and not make them waste tons, and being able to recycle, and you're checking their water usage, etc. So that's the first step of Sustonica, is this badge that we give you. How it works is very easy. You take an appointment with us. It's a video call. And then we take you through the rental, so the apartment, and we take you and we tick off the boxes. We see, oh yes, they have this, they have that, they don't have this, they don't have that. And then if you pass, you get your certificate the same day. What you can do is your certificate is put on your website. We encourage you to make a proper page around your values as a business and what you do in terms of sustainability, and list all the reasons why you have passed the certification. And so that's how it works. It's pretty straightforward.
I love it. It's interesting because we just had Chris Mon on a couple of weeks ago, and he has accreditation for trust and leading with trust. And it's a similar type of thing that you're doing here, but it's, my assumption is that if you were to go ahead and build a sustainability page and you showcase your badge or whatever you're doing, and you bring marketing or keywords and you drive people to this page, it's going to do the same type of things for those people there are certain people that only will travel with this mindset on, like, because they are aware.
The question is, look, John, if you could choose between one vacation rental that is environmentally friendly and one that isn't, same price, same location, same standard, which one would you choose?
100% the one that's
Well,
environmentally
so that's it. And we have to jump on the wagon. That is not because you have a certain percentage of people who are absolutely wanting to run sustainability. This is not just the scenario. The scenario is that we're going to be made accountable by cities, by countries.
Right.
We have to start looking at that. We are part of the tourism industry, and the tourism industry is one of the hugest producer in the world. And so everybody has to do their bit in terms of, reducing. So it's not just about, I think, attracting the today eco-conscious traveler, of which there are very, very many. But it's also saying to all the other travelers, look, we're taking steps in our own homes to be more environmentally friendly. And with that, we're able to influence millions of homeowners. Because if I travel to a place where I see, oh my, this is how they recycle, they have a tap for turning the tap water into drinkable water. Easy things, an induction cooktop is better, etc. The fridges, right, ABC, or in the States is Energy Star. All of these small things that you can do in your home that, one, saves you on electricity bill, and I'm saying tons, saving money, and two, are good for the planet. And on top of it, it's good for profit because
I was just going to say,
it's part of your brand.
Right.
It's part of your brand. So
if you had sustainable property A and non-sustainable property A, and you could charge more for sustainable property A, it's good for business. It seems pretty simple business.
Yeah, the charge more, I don't have any stats on that, but I can tell you that already, and Booking.com has on the program themselves to have, a sustainability badge of their own, which is obviously only valid for Booking.com. But their stats show that the occupancy is 2% higher than the properties that don't have so 2% higher is like, it's 1 week. It's 1 week a year, but it's 1 week a year.
But it's 1 week a year.
We're still at the very beginning of this. But I think for your book direct strategy is very, very powerful because people buy brands. They don't buy the flat. They buy because they trust you, like Chris says, and they buy because you have the same values as them. The same purpose as them.
But it's also, it's a niche though too, right? Like at the end of the day, there's a generation of traveler coming up that this is going to matter to them very much, right? And as an industry, we have to care because if number one, because it's self-serving. Number two, well, number one, it's the right thing to do. Number two, it's self-serving, right? Like at the end of the day, but I think it speaks to who we are too, to be proactive about it and not wait till it gets legislated and like things that you have to do, like we make an impact.
Exactly.
Minimize that impact now, for self-sustaining reasons or whatever. But it's at the end of the day, it's going to be good business. There's going to be a platform for sustainable rentals coming up, right? Like someone's going to do it, right? At the end of the day, your listing site, there'll be like with what you're doing, like it's going to matter.
And it should matter. And it should be every single vacation rental. It's not,
Absolutely.
it's
100%.
like if I travel to a vacation rental and there's only one bin, I leave. One waste bin, I leave. Where where do I put the food? And where do I put the plastic? And where do I put the paper? No, gone. I'm gone. No way. It can't be. So these are basic things. These are things I do at home. And
same here.
If you arrive in a vacation rental, don't do these. It's so basic. What are you talking about?
But I think, but that's the crazy part because that's where the education comes in. Because like even here in the States, like where I live in Georgia, they barely recycle. When my home in Oregon, I got to compost. I got to pull out the cardboard, paper, plastic, glass, separate it all. Like it's we're at two different ends of the spectrum in terms of like what you have to do. And so it's like, I think it's going to take a significant amount of education.
But imagine if all the property managers did, all the vacation rentals, we have tons of apartments around cities. We can change. We can make changes.
But that's the point, right? Too. And you're planting those seeds and learning what
Exactly.
oh, they've done that somewhere else. That makes sense. You know what? I could actually do that at home. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Exactly.
and let's look at it in a way, you know, we're talking about getting ahead of what, you know, it's going to be necessary. And look at all these fights right now in these different municipalities that are going against vacation rentals for whatever reason, parties, illicit, you know, every municipality that I could think of right now, there's some sort of city council meeting there, you know, town council meeting that's going to be happening. If you could put something like this in your tool belt, hey, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and all these things that we're practicing correct professional property management, and all these things are in our tool belt, you have a greater chance of actually winning these goddamn fights that we're up against. I
agree 100%.
It's, you know, it's
long-term business.
Yeah.
It's thinking about your business long-term.
It's ingraining yourself in the community, in the area in which you live, right? Like also it's showing that
part of the advocacy movement that's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. For professional property managers, basically.
Yeah.
People who take this seriously, you know, who want to be great at hospitality in all its aspects, not just there to make a quick box, you know.
Right. And it's
because we're proud.
Yeah.
Proud
and now you're going to see
business,
people building homes. They're going to, I mean, that's the next deal. It's the purpose built, right? Like, what do you do on the front end? Like, I think it's awesome. I love what you're doing, because I think what stops a lot of people from progressing in ideas and things that they know they want to do is that they think it's overwhelming, right? Like you've built something that is actually doable. You know, they don't have to put in, a drain water system unless they, I mean, they can if they want to, but like if they don't need to, there's so many other things that they can do today, right? Little things that they can start with today.
That don't cost money.
Right.
Know? I mean, even if you were to have to update your fridge to an Energy Star fridge, the savings you would do in a year will pay for the fridge. You know?
Right. Right.
That's simple.
But that's human nature, man. That's we don't care about these things that we can make money. I was saving us money or making us money.
And it's education again. Like, a lot of times you get a new Energy Star fridge here in the States and you're going to get some sort of tax credit, or when you go ahead and, a lot of times you talk with in the municipalities that you live in, they'll come and take your old non-Energy Star fridge away and they'll pay you $200 or something like that for it.
Wow.
It depends on where you live. There's a movement to get, efficient
everybody on track
stuff, and get everyone in line. And there's, and take that out, you could scrap it and you can make $100 just on the copper and metal and all these different, like in a fridge, anyways. But again, the guidelines, I hate to say this, but we have to dumb it down to, these property managers have so much on their plate. And, not to play devil's advocate, if I'm a property manager and I'm getting this accreditation here and I'm getting this accreditation here and I got this new tech here and I got that here and I got like 19 things that I have to look at every new year when I'm talking about my budget. All right. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to spend my money on this year? How do you prioritize? What makes the most sense? And, they're going to see, all right, what's the quickest, fastest ROI, right? How do I get to go ahead and get, and they're not necessarily going to think about these things you put a task force together in a company, you can handle this, in a few weeks. And not
actually, because I know this because I've been in the industry for so many years, I've made it so that, the check-in person can go and come 15 minutes before the check-in and do the video, or the cleaner can do it after finishing cleaning or before cleaning.
Right, so in that turn, right?
Or whichever person, staff is going for some reason or another to the flat can take the call and tick. Because I know that people don't have time. So that's why I try to make it as easy as possible.
I love it.
That's smart. Yeah.
I love it. Now we just got to keep shaking this tree and
and I want to be the day when I have 10,000 calls a day.
Right.
Will be a good problem to have.
But the other thing too is now we need an event around this. So
Yeah.
Now we need an event, right? Like, because that's the other thing that
give me
gets
5
people on
minutes.
board. Yeah, people want to.
5 minutes.
Give me
Or
5
even, there's some pretty cool ideas. If you could take an event and that is and break it out by, I have this idea and now I'm putting it out public. So I don't care who does it. If you had an event, but one day is focused on environmental and sustainability, and you have different days broken out by, priorities, and you have
Yes.
different speakers, but, and you can keep people there, and, and it's not the same stuff draw day after day, and you have different tiers on those
Yep.
days, but,
Yes.
day 1 is on this, day 2 is on, tech, day 3 is on and this. I think that would be a draw. And I think it's really going to go ahead. And I think that the events are going to need to evolve. There's too many events right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is, but the business side of that, John, too, is you have to think about the reality of what our industry faces right now in terms of climate change and threat from climate change. How many cities in down in the Gulf Coast have been decimated, right, by changing weather patterns? Like, there's it's good business. Like, the tech is going to change. It's going to be able to sell money. Like, there's going to be a vending business around this in terms of energy efficiency and resource efficiency. Like, there's a whole industry behind the green travel, right? And
no, I agree.
It's just getting started. So I think, but there's no event, there's no real events that I know of that
There should be just
events.
part of the event.
It should be.
VRMA didn't do anything. So it's
Book Direct.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a focused
there was not
event.
one panel on green vacation rentals. Not one.
I want to give a shout out to Damien in the Book Direct show. They came to Miami, and they put it together as green of event as they possibly could. And shout out to them, and they did the best job that I've seen here in the States to date. As far as my point is, where I'm coming from with this is, if we could consolidate. I mean, let's look at it from a vendor standpoint. Okay, I'm a new director of sales, and I'm looking at budgets. And I need to go, and I need to look at all these events. And now I got to look overseas, because there's some events overseas because we're going to be, oh shit, this is a lot of fucking money. Like, we don't have the budget for this. How do we go ahead and consolidate some of that? We got this event that does this event does this, bring them together. And then when you bring them together, let's focus on making it sustainable in a sustainable event. And then also focus on a day that's focused on environmental and sustainability as well. I think that making more and more events isn't the answer. I think consolidation to some of these events, I get it. You're going to have your user event for every different software that's out there. Okay, great. So the vendors already have to go to those because they have an API connection to them. I get that. But when you got 5 or 6 different vacation rental general conferences that happen throughout the year in one country, and then you go to Europe and you got 5 or 6 more, it's not a bad idea. But I think it could be done better. And then if we're talking about environmental and sustainability, having so many and making so many people travel, and you think about all the vendors that come overseas that fly, and the tax that does on the environment, just the flights alone. I don't know. I just think that we need to think about it a little bit better.
Good point.
Sorry, I'll get off my high horse.
No, you're right.
High horse. But it's a good point. I'm actually a little surprised that was your viewpoint. Actually, I'm a little surprised by that. But I agree. I think it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. There's more and more events happening. Like, and more events are going to keep happening, right? And like, especially now, because we're coming out of this space of not wanting to see each other over Zoom all the time, and actually wanting to get back out and get back traveling. Like,
I only like seeing you over Zoom, Mateo.
That sounds like a personal problem that I really can't help you. No, seriously. But no, I think it's an interesting question, because again, like, how do you do it? And how do you do it with impact? I mean, I think do you tailor it at the end of a VRMA? Does it come into a VRMA? I mean, it's going to have to be something that VRMA is going to have to take up, right? Like, at the end of the day,
just make it part of the conversation.
Much of an issue to not
hasn't been.
be, right? And it's it has a direct correlation to the business. at hand. It has a direct impact on sustainability. Like some towns got wiped off the map. Like
it's crazy.
I say the
madness.
three of us and whoever, we put a panel together for international in Orlando this year. We talk about it. We set something up. We put a proposal together and we make a big deal of it. Let's do that.
Great.
Vanessa,
Amazing.
thank you so much.
Come in.
Yeah, for sure. We'll make that happen for sure. Thank you so much for joining us. I learned a ton. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and continue.
This has been awesome.
Thank you.
And put yourself out there.
Thank you.
It means a lot to us, and I know it means a lot to the women, all the women out there, and it's huge and it's necessary. So we really appreciate you being open and honest with us.
Thank you for all that you guys are doing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, there'll be links on our website. If you if you have experienced or are experiencing domestic violence and you'd like to learn more about who to talk to or anything, we'll go ahead and have a link on the website. Additionally, there'll be a link to Sustonica and to learn more about everything that Vanessa's doing, and look for the three of us and maybe others to put a great panel together at International.
Nice one. Cheers, you guys.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is a Hospitality.fm production.